We're going to start with the service of Mincha. I think we all have Sim Shalom. I forgot the number of for those of you who are on Zoom or streaming, I don't know the page number of Mincha in the Sidur, in the PDF. But the afternoon service is on page 164 on Sim Shalom. We'll start with Ashrei. אשר יושבי ביתך עוד ילוך הסלע תהילה לדוד אלוהיך אלוהי המלך וברך שמך לעולם ועד גדול אדוני מהולל מאוד ולגדולתו אין חקר הדר כבוד הודך ודברי נפלאותיך עשיך זכר רב טובך יביאו וצדקתך ירננו טוב אדוני לכל ורחמיו על כל מעשיו כבוד מלכותך יאמר וגבורתך ידברו מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור הנה כל אליך יסברו ואתה נותן להם את אוכלם בעיתו צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו וחסיד בכל מעשיו וצאן יביא עשה ואת שבתם ישמע ויושיעם תהילת אדוני ידבר פיו יברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד Hallelujah. I invite you to rise for Chatzi Kaddish on page 166, after which we'll continue with the Amidah, and then we'll be silent after the Kedusha. יתגדל ויתקדש שמך רבה, ועלמא דברה קילותי במליך מלכותי וחייכון וביומכון ובחד כל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהא שמך רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי קודשה בריחו לאל אמין כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו אלוהי אברהם אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב אלוהי שרה אלוהי רבקה אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואמהות ומביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ופוקד ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מקיים את אימת הרב להושיע מוריד הטל מכלכל חיים בחסד מקיים מתים ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה המתים נקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום ככתוב על יד נביאך וקרא זה אל זה ואמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך כל הארץ כבודו לאומתם ברוך יאמרו ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהיך, ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
You will find in Kaddish Shalom on page 194. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ועלמה דברה כאילו תבמליך מלכות ביך יכון וביום יכון ובכתך בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מברך לעולם עולמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירם בעלמה ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלותיהון ובאותיהון לכל ישראל קודם אבון ובשמיא ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה בנשמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו
הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. עלינו לשבח לדור הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שמנו חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ משה ויקרא השמיים ממעל, ושינת עוזו וגובה במדינה. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני, ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. We'll conclude the service of Mincha with the mourner's Kaddish. Please remain standing if you're a mourner observing a yahrzeit. If you're on Zoom, please unmute at this point. You will find the mourner's Kaddish on page 198. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמה דברה קירותה וימליך מלכותה, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו, לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן.
going to begin our ceremony of commemoration of the Shoah. For many years, we were doing all sorts of liturgies and programs, and nothing was working in a really deep, meaningful way. Nothing was touching the places in us where it should touch. Because how do you remember, how do you commemorate, how do you mark an event or catastrophe of this magnitude? How do you express anything when you're in the face of something that is so horrible, a tragedy, a catastrophe that's so enormous? And then the idea came, together with Miriam, to just read names. There were enough names of people who perished in the Shoah who were connected to members of our community, parents, grandparents, spouses. And we started collecting the names and reading the names, and sometimes the line was so long, it took a very long time to read all the names. And then those names were pasted in a Megillah that we're going to take parchment. All these pieces of paper, little pieces of paper that people brought every time they would read. Some of us remember, read from a little piece of paper, note. Sometimes on the other side, maybe it was a shopping list, but people wrote the names. And they would bring these names and read them here, and then they were pasted in this Megillah. Many people don't know this, and many people who are at home and joining us virtually have never seen this and never experienced this ritual that we've had here at BJ for, say, over 25 years. And so we also do this ritual in the presence of two Sifrei Torah that survived the Holocaust in Europe, that were brought from Europe. One survived in a small community in Germany, and was on its way, together with the belongings of a family that was leaving Germany and had obtained a visa to go to Chile. But this person never made it to Chile. But her belongings were stuck in Genoa in the port, in a big container. One day the container was open, and this Sefer Torah was found. It's a little Sefer Torah. Belongs to the Sonnenfeld family. And then there's a big Sefer Torah that survived in Czechoslovakia, and George, through George's agency, we went to London from Czechoslovakia, and then it was saved by the Nazis in order to have objects that would represent the culture that they intended to extinguish. And the Sefer Torah survived. It went to London, and George brought it here. So those are the two Sifrei Torah that we're taking out. One very big and one tiny, representing maybe the lives that were lost, some big, some tiny. So in the presence, as witnesses, these two Sifrei Torah that represent the continuity and the vision and the hope of our people. That's the Sefer Torah. We're going to begin this ritual of commemoration, and Becca is going to share a famous poem by the Hebrew poet, the Israeli poet Zelda.
L'chol ish yesh shem. Every person has a name. Every person has a name given by God and given by their parents. Every person has a name given by their stature and their smile, and given by what they wear. Every person has a name given by the mountains and given by their walls. Every person has a name given by the stars and given by their neighbors. Every person has a name given by their sins and given by their longing. Every person has a name given by their enemies and given by their love. Every person has a name given by the celebrations and given by their work. Every person has a name given by the seasons and given by their blindness. Every person has a name given by the sea and given by their death.
We invite everybody to rise. The ark is now open.
Shema Israel Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Shema Israel Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo. Now you may be seated. We're going to begin with a reading of the names. Those who come up, we ask you to speak in the phone, in the microphone. The microphone is not at the height of your mouth. Please adjust it and speak in the mic.
To read names, please stand on line. Would you do it in here? So this Shoah Megillah was created in 2014. And I just want to remind us of who it is that helped us to put this together: Judy Geller Marlowe, Sandy Borarski, Karen Brown, and then everyone who would like to read from the Shoah Megillah, please come up, even if you don't have your names.
You want to start reading here, and then I'll read mine last.
No, you read yours.
Read mine first. Thanks. My paternal grandmother, Reja Vogelman, her son David and his family, her daughter Devorah and her family. My maternal grandparents, Sarah and David Rosenrod and their family, and surviving my Aunt Gala and her husband Nachum, and my parents, Chaya Rosenrod and Michael Vogelman. Do you want me to read some? Family, Lisa Niven, Hanoch Eliyahu Nowinski, Batsheva Nowinski, Sasha Silber, Misha Silber, Tankel Silber. Mindan Hausman, Chava and Moshe Hausman. Tzili Livingstone, Albert Livingstone, Rolf Livingstone. Gershon Zatz, Sarah Zatz, Bello Zatz, Vera Zatz, Chaya Zatz. Grandparents on father's side, Mordechai Solomon Peschel, their children Bernard, Jonas, Manas, Fanny, and one other. On my mother's side, my grandmother, Pepe Berner, and son. Eliezer Trencher, Yehudit Trencher, Bianca Trencher, Gabrielle Millers, from the Millers family, Gabrielle Radlow Plonsk, Rosenvasses, Lieberman, and Pluck. My family members from Wisnik, Poland, Josef Guterman, Yehudit Guterman, Moshe Guterman, Levi Guterman, Sarah Guterman. Keep going? Okay.
My grandmother, Cecilia Tzili Gellis, and my aunt, Alicia Litzy Gellis.
A cousin of my grandmother's, who was a police officer in Odessa, whose name we don't know. I'm going to read a list of family names from Donald Eisler, who couldn't come in from Westchester. So this is in reference to Donald. My great-grandmother Sigmund Friedman from Stuttgart, Germany. My great-aunt and uncle Elsie and Herman Dernbach and their son Hans Dernbach from Zagreb, Yugoslavia. My great-aunt Henrietta Rosenberg, her daughters Ilse Rosenberg, Hannah Rosenberg, and Lottie Bachman. Lottie's husband Julius Bachman, the twin daughter and son of Lottie and Julius, Racha Bachman and Jethro Bachman, who were about 2 or 3 years old when they were killed from Dortmund, Germany. My great-aunt and uncle Emma and Karl Marburger from Duisburg, Germany. My great-aunt and uncle Paula and Jacob Bernhard from Dusseldorf. My cousins, the children of my great-uncle Isaac Kaufman, 5 adult siblings who were never married, Lena Kaufman, Max Kaufman, Fritz Kaufman, Adolf Kaufman, and Willie Kaufman from Meurs, Germany. The family, my late cousin Rudolf Kaufman, his mother Regina Kaufman Keller, his stepfather Nathan Keller, and his sister Marianne Kaufman from Meurs, Germany. The name of my aunt, from Miriam, the name of my auntie's father, Eugene May Dachau, Michelle and Avram Minsky, Shirla and Shia Weintraub, Liba Minsky, Natalie Minsky, Avram Moshe Minsky, cousins, aunts, and uncles.
I come every year because it feels a holy responsibility to do this, and a gift of love, and I read names, and this year I'm doing something different for the first time in my life. I'm reading newly found family names. Miriam knows some of this. I was in Paris last summer and went to the Shoah Memorial, and on their list of 76,000 people Jewish people who were deported by the Vichy government and the Nazis were 10 Trachtenbergs, as they say in Europe. And I've never seen a Trachtenberg anywhere in the world. There was nobody in my mother's family, nobody in Reni's families, and here are 10 Trachtenbergs who are in some way related to me. Reuben Trachtenberg, Toba Trachtenberg, Maurice Trachtenberg, Jandala Trachtenberg, Moise Trachtenberg, Golda Trachtenberg, another Maurice Trachtenberg, Jacqueline Trachtenberg, Charlotte Trachtenberg, and the youngest one, born in 1940, which is my birth date, Arlette Trachtenberg. So this is new history for me to discover because of BJ. Sarna Weichman's family, Pinkas Pinkel, Miriam Weisel Pintel, Fela Henjek Paul from Treblinka, David Weichman, Issachar, Hava, Esther, Eli, Itzhak, Hannah, Dublin, Sebibor, 1942, family of Rochelle Cohn, her father's family, Zelig ben Velul ben Zata, including 6 brothers and sister. I'm reading some of Ann Millman, who's standing there. She'll read it again. Reading the names of my and Alex's family killed by the Nazis in B'nai Yerushalayim. Chinnik family, Rav Leib Chinnik, my father, Shana Chinnik, my mother, Faya Chinnik, Belkin, my sister, Lega Fasink Chinnik, Fena's daughter, David Belkind, Fena's son, Chana Chinnik, my sister, Mera Chinnik, my sister, Mayana Chinnik, my sister, Danya Chinnik, my sister, Znonia Levin, my aunt, Ethel Levin, my aunt's daughter, Mendel Chinnik, my wife, Rose Chinnik, my aunt, my husband Alexander Litsky's family, Dr. Avram David Litsky, Tova Litsky, my husband's brother, and more. Parents Clara and Yuda, nephew Mille Gold, nephew Arton Blond, brother Samuel Blond, brother Adolf Blond, brother Fromyand Blond, uncle Yaakov Shlomo Freyer, Gittel Lehman, Lena Leprian.
I'm going to be reading names of my beloved late father's relatives who perished in the Shoah. Chana Fegi Freireich, Moshe Hirsch Freireich, Yerucham Freireich, Friedel Freireich. In the Weinfeld family, Pinchas Weinfeld, Sprinzel Weinfeld, Hila Weinfeld. In the Ray family, Malka Ray, Rosha Ray, Esther Ray, Chana Ray, Sarah Ray, Gittel Ray, Hillel Aaron Ray, Ita Ray. And in the Engelstein family, Chaya Rochel Engelstein, Shlomo Engelstein, Shmuel Engelstein, Elazar Engelstein, and Pinchas Engelstein.
If you have names that you don't think we have, please leave them with Nancy Beltrandi. She's collecting names to go into the Megillah.
Members of the family of my grandmother, Miriam Eisenberg, Bela Weissman, Pacia Weissman, Chashke Weissman, Etza Lieberman, Yaakov Lieberman, Avraham Lieberman, Miriam Lieberman, Sonia Lieberman, Asher Lieberman, and Shulamit Lieberman. Leah Wexler, Mendel Leib Wexler, Sora Wexler Levine, Perka Wexler, Itka Wexler, Chaya Glazer Guberski, Chanka Guberski Batrin, Yankel Batrin, Chaimke Batrin, Sorka Batrin, Frumke Guberski Yoel, David Yoel, Aaron Velvel Yoel, Shlema Guberski, Tante Grunke, Ethel Glazer Kanterowitz, Sael Glazer, Rivka Horowitz, Brena Shepsel, Chassel Rogovski, Gitka Rogovski, Maishka Lapuk, Tzemach Rosenberg, Hirschke Kreskin, Hirschke Schmidt, Yankele, and Mirka von Oshmine, and Dr. Gorfein.
These are from my mother's family. Vega Berry Kamash, Morris Kamash, Scheinele Kamash, Ruchele Kamash, Abrasha Berry, Bella Goldschmidt, Salmon Goldschmidt, Vera Goldschmidt, Wurgia Goldschmidt, Pfeffer. From my father's family, and some names will be crossed over because they were married through marriage. Zlota Schwarzapel Rosin, Chaim Rosin, Shimon Rosin, Leib Rosin, Hannah Baratz, Weber Baratz, and this name is shared by Sylvia Vogelman, who also has relatives with this family name. We're from the same family, different strands. Yanko Karaonek, Helena Bavel Karaonek, Ruchele Karaonek Meislich, Herschke Meislich, Basia Meislich, Fulke Meislich, Shimon Karaonek, Dinja Karaonek, Freudele Karaonek Seif, Avram Seif, Mindek Seif, Willi Seif, David Sirjev. Zisel Schwarzapel Seufer, Shimon Seufer, Yasha Seufer, Genya Seufer, and Misha Berry, Yasele Seufer. Claire Rubin, Albert Rubin, Tony Poser, Osinas Poser, Amon Poser, Rachel Poser, Charlotte Poser, Anna Goldstick, Shimon Goldstick, Mendel Goldstick.
I'm reading names for both my mother and my father's family. From my father, Andre Bloom's family from Transylvania, Romania, my grandfather, Joseph Bloom, my grandmother, Rebecca Bloom, my aunt, Marischka Bloom, and there were 45 members of his family as well. From my mother's side, she was Gertrude Bloom Nee Weil, her brother, my uncle, Ladislav Theodor Weil, her father, my great-grandfather, Alfred Weiss, Ernestina Gross Weiss, Irma Weiss, Deja Fahidi, Gilike Fahidi, Pali Weiss, Natalia Weiss, Imre Weiss, Rojika Fahidi, Sharonke Fahidi, and Tony Fahidi. Want me to read this one? It says, from the family of Donald Eisler, my great-grandmother Sigmund Friedman, my great-aunt and uncle and their son Ilse, Herman, and Hans Dernbach, my great-aunt Henriette Rosenberg, my great-aunt and uncle Emma and Karl Marburger, my great-aunt and uncle Paula and Jakob Bernhard, my cousins, the children of my great-uncle Isaac Kaufmann, 5 adult siblings who never married, Lena, Max, Fritz, Adolf, and Willie Kaufmann, the family of my late cousin Rudolf Kaufmann, his mother Regina Kaufmann Keller, his stepfather Nathan Keller, and his sister Marianne Kaufmann.
The full history of my father's family in Amsterdam was kept from me and my sisters, ostensibly to shield us from the horrors of the truth. But fortunately, thanks to the research efforts of my wife, the genealogy research efforts, we've uncovered over 250 of my aunts, uncles, and cousins who were among the approximately 107,000 Dutch Jews deported between June 1942 and August of 1944 by the Nederlandse Spoorwegen, the state-owned Dutch railway, in complicity with its German occupiers. They were taken first to Westerbork and then to the camps in Poland where they were murdered. I will read you just some of the names. I'll stop at 18. Abraham Park, Sobibor, Betty Park, Auschwitz, David Park, Auschwitz, Emanuel Hartog Park, the name my grandfather shared, Auschwitz, Emma Park, a 14-year-old cousin, Auschwitz, Hartog Park, Auschwitz, Henriette Park, a 7-year-old cousin, Auschwitz, Joseph Park, Sobibor, Nathan Park, Sobibor, Marcus Park, Auschwitz, Rebecca Park, Sobibor, Sarah Park, a name my grandmother shares, Auschwitz, Ellie Park, Bamberger, Auschwitz, Eva Park, Frank, Auschwitz, Rosa Park, Heeman, Sobibor, Elizabeth Park, Moses, Auschwitz, Roja Park, Sobibor, Rachel Park Van Wetzel, Auschwitz. Chaim Hertzkowitz, Raquel Hertzkowitz, Pinchas Hertzkowitz, Shmuel Hertzkowitz, Avraham Hertzkowitz, Leah Hertzkowitz, Shlomo Hertzkowitz, Wolf Hertzkowitz.
The family of Susan Sanders. The family of Susan Sanders, her grandparents, Clara and Arie Leib Streuer, Nahum Streuer, Ruchel Streuer, Alexander Streuer, Max Streuer, Sarah Tepper, Shlomo Tepper, Dora Tepper, Anna Tepper, Libba Fahn, Bernard Rammer, Batya Fahn, Mordechai Smoke, Sabine Smoke, and my mother, Hella Hönigsberg, and my sister, Linda Hönigsberg, and my aunt, Helene Hönigsberg.
I'm going to read from Susan Sanders, the family that sponsored her mother. It's the Drezau Speyer family. They were a Jewish family who took in Susan Sanders' mother and her aunt from the kinder transport to Belgium until they themselves were forced to flee. And their grandson, Elaine Drezau, had visited BJ in 2019. Marcus Drezau, Louis Drezau, Judith Drezau, Leendert Drezau, Moses Drezau, Nielche Drezau Cohn de Lara, Josephina Drezau van Prague, Elizabeth Drezow, Barbara Pencha Drezow, Elizabeth Rubens Drezow, and Eliezer van Houten. And this is my family list. I'm going to start with my mother's family. My grandparents, Sarah Korngrun, who was murdered at Fort 9 in Lithuania, Rudolf Korngrun, who was transported to Auschwitz, Rivka Goldberg, Fischl Goldberg and his wife and children, Ruchel Goldberg and her husband and children, Nathan Goldberg, his wife and children, Michael Goldberg, his wife and children, Etka and Max Schmergel, my great-grandmother Ruchel Korngrun, who was murdered in a massacre in Tarnopol in 1941, Gusta Korngrun and family, Ronia Korngrun and family, Zina Korngrun and family, and then my father's family, Honigsberg and Cohn family, Alfred Cohn and family, Max Cohn, wife and family, Moritz Cohn and family, Olga Cohn and family, Fanny Cohn and family, Emma Cohn and family, Selma Cohn and family, and the Honigsbergs that Ilse already read. Do you want me to read this? Okay. Do you want me to read this? Sigmund, Gertrude, and Leonie Blumenthal.
I want to start by expressing my eternal gratitude to my parents, who were only in their 20s, and who had the foresight, the resilience, the determination to survive and live to tell me about what happened, and of course give me life. So, due to a combination of all their qualities, and Bezrat Hashem, I am here, and I honor the memory of their families whom they lost. My mother was Sarna Pinkel. Later, she married and was Weichmann. She lost her father, Pinkas Pinkel, who died in the Warsaw Ghetto, and her mother, Miriam, her siblings, Jakob, Henrik, and Fela, all of whom died in Treblinka. My father, David Weichmann, who watched as his sister Esther was killed by an airplane strafing the family as it tried to escape. She was very young. She was only about 7. He lost his parents, Issachar and Chava, and his siblings, Eli, Yitzchak, and Hannah, in Sobibor. They all died in Sobibor. And I have used these connections to help me locate other survivors from our family, and they are all over the world, in Israel, of course, but also in Australia, in Brazil, all over the United States, and I'm still finding more, and we're now down to, 3rd and even 4th generation. So I'm just very heartened by that. So do you want me to read some more? Okay. This is for Tzipi Shapira. These are the names. Yehuda Slomki and children, Pinchas Sapir and his wife and children, David Mishkovsky, Lieb Mishkovsky, Mindel Mishkovsky, Shana Midlarsky, Label Midlarsky, Zanvil Midlarsky, Chava Midlarsky, and Rivka Midlarsky. More here. Sarah Leah Dombrovsky, Harav Chaim Aharondov, Etela Dombrovsky, Aryeh Dombrovsky, Shana Shapira, Yudel Dombrovsky, Shesela Dombrovsky, Toibe Kaplansky, is it Yaakov Kaplansky, Etele Tunkelman, Moshe Tunkelman, Yosha Shinwald, Mindel Shinwald, Yitzhak Shinwald, Reuven Shapira, Rachel Shapira, Yitzhak Shapira.
These are the names of my grandmother's family. Her name was Esther Machala Mintzemacher. Mars Yaroslav and his wife Chana Mintzemacher and their children Rivka, Vega, Rachel, and David. Meir Mintzemacher and his wife Sarah and their daughters Esther Lieber and Sprinza. Her sister Sprinza Mintzemacher and her daughters Rivka and Mindel, who apparently died in Warsaw. Most of the rest we think were killed in Treblinka, if not in Chmelnik or Kelts. Nuta Mintzemacher, his wife Pesel, and their children Chana Machala, Sprinza, Yehuda, and Yached. Joseph Mintzemacher, his wife Shandel, and their children Sarah Pola, and her husband Leon Dallerman. Their other children Chana, Devorah, Avram Yaakov, Chaim, Nathan, and Shmuel. Chaim Mintzemacher and his wife Chana Shmulevitz and their children Yisrael Lieb Mintzemacher, his wife Eva Kluska, and their young son Simcha. Norton Yitzhak Mintzemacher, Avram Yaakov Mintzemacher, Rivka Mintzemacher, Chaya Mindel Mintzemacher. My grandfather's family, Shmulevitz, from Kelts, Poland. Siblings of my grandfather, whose name was Yisroel Chaim Shmulevitz. His brother Velvel Shmulevitz and his family, unfortunately, I don't know their names. Shmuel Harsh Shmulevitz and his 3 daughters, unfortunately, I don't know their names. And Blima Shmulevitz and her family, names unknown. Siblings and family members of my grandfather's cousin, who was the noted Yiddish Stele Leibovitz writer, Itzhak Shmulevitz. His, I believe it's his sisters, Blima, Reisel, Cyril, Chana, and Frimet Shmulevitz, and then the mother and sister of Itzhak's wife, Miriam, who were Esther Krakowska and Sima Krakowska, all from Kelts, Poland. Rachela Rembechowska, Velvel, Pola, Shmulek, Golda Ita, Moshe Aaron, Yitzhak, Abba, Binush, Moshe Regina, Freja, Scheindel, Reutzer, Menachem, Weigel, and Boucher Bertol, Chana and Baruch Berman, Chana and Shlomo Bertol, Hartza Bertol, Scheindel and Velvel Rembechowska, Hinda Rembechowska, Weigel Rembechowska, and Rachela Rembechowska. Thank you.
I'm going remember on both sides of my family, my grandfather, Mordechai Solomon, and my grandmother, Pepe, and there were 4 sons and 1 sister, 1 daughter, Zipporah, for whom I'm named after, and on my mother's side, Mordechai Berner and Pepe Berner, and 2 sons. So, thank you. Sure, I'd love to. Family of Paul and Jerry Hiller, Miskol and Shikso, Hungary, Holocaust victims, Ilona Hiller, Clara Hiller, Pal Grossman, Josephine Grossman, Rose Rogie Grossman, Andor Grossman, Bella Grossman, Judith Grossman, Sandor Grossman, Imre Lowinger, Piroshka Grossman, survivors, Niklos Heller, Imre Heller, Magda Grossman Heller, Elizabeth Boji Grossman Borenstein, Sandor Lewinger.
My father's mother, Ruth Sakin from Alytus, and his sister Miriam Sakin. Carolina Singer, Otto Leibowitz, Grama and Willie Leibowitz Singer, Margaret Simon Gross, Frida Vessel, Wislowski family. Hermina Wiener, Pepika Wiener, Zoza Graf, Senika Graf, Dusika and her parents. This is my grandparents. Do you want me to read something now? Alfred Benet, 942. Rosa Fritz Sylvia Riker from Romania, died on Struma Black Sea, 1943 or 4. Ida and Sola Ebenstein, Poland. Isidore and Helen Hartmann, Linz and Instadt. Mordechai Tzvi Rose Mazim, Pearl Rose Mazim, Hannah Fischel, Chaim Fischel, Chaim Yedrich Weissel, Hillel, I can't make out, Rosemain, Dvora Rosemain, Miriam Rosemain, Ariane Rosemain, Rachel Warshoche, Moshe David Warshol, and Marlene Hahalom. Yeah.
Mordechai Tzvi Roseman, Pearl Roseman, Charles Fischel, Chaim Fischel, Chaim Yechid Warshal, Hillel Roseman, Devorah Roseman, Miriam Roseman, Aryan Roseman, Rachel Warsharsky, Moshe David Warsharsky, Merlene Yahalom, seems to be the family of Rose Aldon, Herrera Polener, Sarah Polener, Fanny Polener, Paul Solo Alo Brenner, Jacob Dora Polener, Sabrina Joseph Afpesser, Tzvi Polener, Sarah Tova Polener Spruch, Feigl Hanna Polener, Priva Polener, Salo Alon Brunner, Jacob Yaakov Israel Polener, Dora Polener, Shari Polener, Yosef Afpresser, Anya Afpresser. This one? It doesn't go over. There's nothing to turn. Family of Isaac Geld, his aunt, Feiga Priuner, His uncles Chaim, Moshe, Yankel, Yosel, Yidil, Herschel, Yonah, all gold. Family of Joe Merer. His mother Bertha Marmerstein. His father Herman Marmerstein. His sister Sarah Marmerstein. Carol Luft, Simon Luft, Itka Luft, Vajja Luft. Shall I continue?
List of victims of the Shoah. Maria Polak Lehrman, Chichanauik, Poland. Shlomo Piora, age 56, and his sons, Chaim Piora, Shmuel Piora, Yitzchak Yosef Piora, Ephraim, all shot November 18, 1942. Herschel Piora, deported to Treblinka, age 35, his wife Rachel, age 35, and their daughter Minka, age 12. Balpotok, Slovakia. Rosalia Grunwald, deported to Sobibor, May 22, 1942, age 64, and her children Alexander Grunwald, age 36, Adolf Grunwald, age 34, Morik Grunwald, age 28, who escaped Rechovy concentration camp October 1942 and survived the war hiding in a farm in Zegna, Slovakia. Jolana Grunwald, Bert Grunwald, her sister Sally Steiner, and her brothers Abraham 62 and Samuel Steiner. Rebecca Steiner, age 54, Ladislav Friedman, age 29, Armin Friedman, age 27, Rosalia Friedman, age 53. Hunkovic, Slovakia. Desider Zuckerman, his wife Sidonia, and their children, Alex, age 14, Irene, age 16, Armin, Gino, Peter, age 1. Frankfurt, Germany. Georgina Mayer, age 76, her sister Betty Jane, age 77, her son Walter, 51, his wife Frida, and their son Kurt, her brother Jacob Julius, aged 82, who disappeared. Isaac and Hannah Friedman, Solomon Friedman, Rachmiel Friedman, Frida Friedman, Ferdinand Cohn.
I'd like to read the names of my father's family from Uzhhorod. His parents, Morris Weinberger and Fanny Schwartz Weinberger. His siblings, Tova Weinberger, Ida Weinberger, Rose Weinberger, and Mendel Weinberger. I'd also like to read the name of his first wife, named, we think, Yoli, and a child whose name we do not know that died in the Holocaust. David Feldhendler, Feldhendler, Chaim Feldhendler, Yosef Feldhendler, Leon Feldhendler.
It is again my privilege to honor the memories of the families of Sabina and David Reicher. Fanny Reicher, Greta Reicher, Miriam Reicher, Samuel Reicher, Adolf Reicher, Max Reicher, 5 sisters Reicher, Mary Reicher, Sally Reicher, Regina Reicher, Rose Reicher, Lotte Reicher, the family of Sabina Reicher, Hiel Hollander, Sophie Hollander, Jakob Hollander, Yona Hollander, Frimetta Hollander, family of Devorah and Joseph Telushkin, family of our surrogate grandmother. Chaya Kurtz, Moshe Kurtz, Pinkas Kurtz, Gittel Kurtz, Minna Kurtz, Yaakov Kurtz, Brandel Weisserstein, Akiva Weisserstein, Joseph Weisserstein, Koppel Yaakov Steinlicht, Minna Sternlicht, Regina Brona, Yitzhak Brona, Shmuel Brona, Ardell Rosenberg, Esther Rosenberg. This is the family of Esther Weiser.
Chaim Chaim Fleischer, Rivka Fleischer, Leah Fleischer, Basia Razel Fleischer, Chana Fleischer, Israel Shaya Goldberg, Hinda Miriam Goldberg, Moshe Simcha Goldberg, Chavala Goldberg, Chana Beaya Bela Goldberg, Belia Goldberg, Favel Blonder, Sarah Blonder, David Blonder, Shalom Blonder, Yitzhak Blonder, Abraham Blonder. Bahor Joseph Cohn, Joseph Bahor Cohn, Jacob Bahor Cohn, Vital Bahor Cohn, Moher Hazan, Joseph Hazan, Albert Hazan, Esther Hazan Cohen, Regina Cohen Hazan, Linda Jacob Elio, Visa Moche Alboher,
my family in Kovna and Mariupol, Lithuania, Pavel Kotler, my grandfather, Shifra Kotler, my grandmother, Sarah Kotler, my aunt, Julius Lidvinovsky, Luba Elyashkevitz, and other members of the Elyashkevitz family, Yoel family members. I would like to mention also the Catholic couple, Jurgis and Valia Marcellonis, who hid me for 3 years when I was a baby and are now honored at Yad Vashem. Also, my father Solomon Eliash, who survived Dachau, and my mother Leah Eliash, who survived the Kovna ghetto, Zichronam Livracha.
I don't have their names, but about 10 years ago, I found out I had long lost cousins through my father. And as we did some research, my sister and I, to find them hopefully in Brooklyn. We found out that they're originally from Austria. They never made it and all perished. I think it's Salo Ginsburg and his wife and 2 very young children all perished in Auschwitz. Goldie Goldstein, Baba Yar, Esther Kaplan, Belarus, Aaron Kaplan, Belarus, Avram Kaplan, Belarus, David Kaplan, Belarus, Hannah Kaplan, Belarus, Rebecca Kaplan, Belarus, Samuel Kaplan, Belarus, and the Krohn-Braun family, there's 33 of them, Solomon Krohn, Jetta Braun, Max Braun, Jutta Braun, Isaac Braun, Julius Braun, Johanna Goldschmidt, Irma Gumpert, Berthold Gumpert, Elsie Hattenbach, Rosa Hattenbach, Michael Hattenbach, Joseph Hattenbach, Siegfried Hattenbach, Jacob Italiander, Louis Kander, Selma Krohn, Gustav Krohn, Johanna Levy, Herta Levy, Levi Levy, Selma Rice, Hermann Rice, Rosa Rosenfelder, Fanny Rosenfelder, Joseph Rosenfelder, Samuel Rosenfelder, Bertha Rothschild, Milling Schwam, Siegfried Selling, Therese Selling, Netchen Stern, Bella Weisnick.
My great-grandfather, Zvi Zygmunt, my great-aunts, who were all children, Adela Zygmunt, Basha Zygmunt, and Paula Zygmunt from Chmielnik, Poland, who perished in Belchek in 1942. And from Slovakia, Imre Davidovich, Ignaz Mandel, Emil Davidovich, and Bella Braun. And in honor of my grandfather, Sam Zygmunt, and my uncle, Zevik Zygmunt, who survived the Holocaust. Starina Avram, Jacob Yasulas, Nina Yasulas, Simos Daniel, Luisa Danielle, Albertos Eriras, Benjamin Cohen, Kuala Cohen, Rebecca Kleiman, and David Calderon. Aaron, Isaac Aaron, Lena Aaron, Aneta Baruch, Ezra Baruch, Miriam Ashkenazi, Mir Vidal, Raphael Vidal, Moises Vidal, and Savas Ganis.
Joseph Askenazis, Esther Askenazis, Marcos Askenazis, Matthias Askenazis, Aaron Yom Tov, Serena Yom Tov, Anna Yom Tov, Serena Levy, Avram Levis, Esther Levis, Yehuda Arditi, Moises Amarillo, Rina Abelanov, Mary Abelanov, Abelanu, David Akras, Vida Akras, Sarah Atias, Sim Tov Arditi, Flora Isaac, Raketa Bea, Orest, from the, looks like Enos Eskenazi, Israel Calvo, Rika Calvo, Moises Binun, Rosa Monaraf, Jacob Litzi, Marcos Muscatel, Boher Menta, Sarah Taranto, Moises DeCalo. And from Athens, Mula and Milo Sabatai, Rebecca Zareta, Mordechai Zaretas, Aaron Cohen, Serena and Nina Kofina, Anna Cohen, David Mionis, Leon Negrin, Aneta Ghani, Malikula Batinu.
Marie Ario, Rafael Arioi, Noivana Arenos, Rena Adato, Aaron Adato, Matika Azos, Zelda Decalo, Sarah Eskenazi, Zach Zamero, Avram Canetti. Isaac Adato, Sophie Adato, Nessim Albocher, Serena Albocher, Sario Altabe, Isaac Atta, Maria Atta, Aaron Venauta, Rosa Venauta, Leonor Danon. Carolina Amar, Sara Atia, Victor Atia, Maria Velen, Anna Veleli, Solomon Ganis, Rebecca Gani, Salomon Ganis, Salomon Akos, Michael Dantes, Sara Dantes.
Earlier this year, I got a startling phone call. It was from a young girl in California who I never knew. And she asked me an odd question. She says, "Do you know Evichka Korn?" Evichka Korn was one of some 40 members of my family who perished in the Holocaust. I told this young girl, yes, she was my cousin, and I never knew her. But out of the blue, why are you asking me this? She says, well, I'm studying for my bat mitzvah, and part of our program here in San Diego, in my shul, is to honor somebody my age. So she had got Evichka's name from Yad Vashem. But that's all she had. There was no biological biographic information about her. She was very excited, but I could tell she was nervous talking to her alter kaka. But her dad was there to make sure it was all above board. But I think, I'm the one who needed protection because she was so enthusiastic and excited that she had actually made contact with a relative. So, over the next few weeks, I gave her all the information that I had, some family pictures and whatever. And I put her in touch with my sister in Australia, who put the original Yad Vashem listing online, Yad Vashem listing. But I asked her name. I asked her, how did you find me? And she said, over the course of 2-3 weeks at school during my lunch break, I would do the research. She went online and she found me, which is, on the one hand exciting and also scary. So my sister talked to her and she passed the information on to her children and grandchildren in Israel. And this Shabbat, Annie will become a bat mitzvah. And she will be honoring a girl her age, who she never knew, who died some 80 years ago. And her bat mitzvah is going to be watched by me on Zoom here in New York, my sister in Australia, and our family in Israel. And that got me thinking, what is it about the small, ancient people that keeps this tradition going? That a young California girl, active in sports and what have you, very bubbly, very different from a shtetl girl in Slovakia, that somehow through this mystery, whatever the Judaism is, they came together. And I think this mitzvah that Annie is performing this Shabbat goes a long way to explaining why the small ancient people with a history of oppression is still here. Oh, I've got to read now. What do you want me to do? No, I can't read that. That's too... Make it big. Hold on. Oh, I could do that one. I don't need these. This one? Okay. Shachna Gebler, Auschwitz, January 17th. Sorry. Shachta Gabler, Auschwitz, January 17, 1943. Miriam Gabler died with her children. Woods of Novi Dvor, New Door. Friedel and Shendel Lopatin and their children. More? Okay, Wolf family from Romania. Irene Elizabeth Bricks. Rivka Chana Wolf. Chana Sarah Wolf. Miriam Leah Wolf. Joseph Bear Wolf. Zen Ben David, father. Mishkat Lana, mother. Sister Lana survived. Yeah?
Moses Nissenbaum, Kalman Nissenbaum, Motel Nissenbaum, Victor Nissenbaum, Ruga Nissenbaum, Simmer Elfenbein, Lucia Elfenbein, Israel Elfenbein, Kalman Elfenbein, Yannick Elfenbein, Don Wolfovich, all from Skalata, Poland. The Altberger and Gilman families from Stashhav, Poland. The Flommenbaum family from Königsberg, Germany. Donald Isla, Yom HaShoah list, okay. His great-grandmother, Sigmund Friedman, his great-aunt and uncle and their son, Elsa, Hermann, and Hans Dimberg. His great-aunt, Henriette Rosenberg. His great-aunt and uncle, Emma and Karl Moorberger. His great-aunt, and Uncle Paula and Jacob Bernhard. His cousins, the children of his great-great-uncle Isaac Kaufman. 5 adult siblings who never married: Lena, Max, Fritz, Adolf, and Wiley Kaufman. The family of his late cousin, Rudolf Kaufman. His mother, Regina Kaufman Keller, his stepfather, Nathan Keller, and his sister, Marianne Kaufman.
Many of the names I don't remember, and my mom escaped from Lodz with her husband, and they went to Siberia, and that's where I was born. And my father went to the Soviet White Army because he heard his father was killed by the Nazis, and he disappeared. My mother met Josef Lubelski, and I didn't find out all of this until much later in my life, but his wife, his former wife, and 3 little girls were taken to the gas chambers. So it's just Malka Lubelski and her siblings, Malka Minsky, Yasha Minsky, Rivka Minsky, who's Minsky Sender, who came from Auschwitz also, and she's alive in Comac, New York, Ruth Minsky Sender. Yasha Minsky. That's about all I can remember at this point. Thank you. Do you want me to read anything? Where are we? I don't know if I have my glasses. Where are we? Oh, thank you. Where? Yeah. Hannah Fege Freilich, Moshe Hirsch Freilich, Yeruchem Freilich, Frankel Freilich, Pinchas Weinfeld, Sprintz Weinfeld, Hella Weinfeld, Malka Ren, Rosa Ren, Esther Ray, Hannah Ray, Sarah Ray, Gittel Ray, Hillel Aaron Ray, Ita Ray.
In prior years, I've read the names of my family members, the Goshes family from Lviv, and the Sandbank and Schneider families from Nerol and Lipsko. But this year, I have something else that I want to share. I've honored the Mother Superior, Maria Angelica, who hid my mother during the war in Fasano, Italy, and mentioned my grandparents, Joseph and Dora Schneider, who Joseph survived Auschwitz, and Dora was running through France from Belgium and ended up jumping off a train in Italy, which is where my mother was hidden. But tonight I want to honor somebody named Rainer Heinzmann, who was a researcher who reached out to me a number of years ago because I had left a message on Jewish Gen about family members in the Sandbank family wanting to know if anyone had any information about them. I knew that there was one sibling who had survived and lived in Argentina. And I received a phone call from somebody named Rainer, who was a young boy at the time in the Netherlands. And he was working as a volunteer at a museum in Belgium. And he had all this information about my aunt, my mother's aunt, my grandmother's sister, who my grandmother wouldn't talk about, but would show me this photograph on the beach in Belgium of my mother, my uncle, my grandmother, and my aunt and her daughter and her husband. And Raina was able to give me all the information about the deportation of my aunt in Antwerp and her two children, because a daughter was born after my mother left Belgium. And so I just want to honor Rainer, who passed away last year at 25 while in law school. And it wasn't just my family he helped. He helped a lot of families who were descendants of children who were orphans in Belgium in 3 orphanages. And he wrote a book before he died called From the Children's Home to the Gas Chamber. And he put together all these people from all over the world who were survivors, who didn't know their background, and he did all the research and shared with them where they came from. Some of them had no idea about their past, and a lot of us have been in touch since he passed, and that's a beautiful thing to know that there was a young Jewish boy in the Netherlands who spent his time doing all of this research and helping families get connected. I'm now friendly with my cousins in Argentina, thanks to Rainer, and it's a very painful thing to know he's passed. So.
Rivka Friedman, Haya Friedman Weiss, Herman Hirschmelech Weiss, Shimon Weiss, Fredel Friedman Roth, Sam Roth, Gitu Roth, Shimon Roth, Mariska Friedman, Shimon Friedman, Ibu Friedman, Masi Friedman, Edis, Yolan Friedman, Sorel Friedman, Shia Friedman, Fergie Rubenstein, Jenta Rubenstein, Herschel Rubenstein, Gertzel Rubenstein, Moishe Rubenstein, Mendel Rubenstein, Geetzi Rubenstein, Ethel Rubenstein, Fradel Rubenstein, Reisel Rubenstein, Gittel Rubenstein, Freeman Dub Weisner, Yitzhak Yaakov Weitzner, Aaron Weitzner.
My mother's uncles and aunts from the family Witzkitsky, from the town of Giradov, Ruchel Witzkitsky and Philip Witzkitsky, Yosef Witzkitsky, Tove Witzkitsky, Liebe Witzkitsky, and they all were adults and they all had children. And then my mother's maternal grandfather, Yehiel Hillel Fislevich, and then his kids, Abraham Fislevich and his family, Ishe Fislevich and family, Shmuel Fislevich and family. The only thing we know is that Yehiel, my mother's grandfather, passed away in the Warsaw Ghetto, and we believe that everybody else perished in Treblinka.
Liana Abramovich, Hillel Abramovich, Etty Hillusum, Anne Frank, Felix Nussbaum, Mala Zimmerbaum, Irene Nemirovsky, Max Jacob, Yitzhak Katzenelson, Charlotte Salomon, Peter Keir, and Wolf Dombacher, and also the family of Janet Sullivan, Heinrich Baumann, Jenny Baumann, Liana Baumann.
Ask everybody to please rise. We invite survivors and children of survivors, grandchildren of survivors to please come. Everybody can gather together here, and we ask for some of you to light a candle. Let's now observe a moment of silence.
רחמים, שוכן במרומים, אמצא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה. במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים. את נשמות כל אחינו בני ישראל, אנשים, נשים וטף, שנטבחו ושנחנקו ושנשרפו ושנהרגו בגן עדן, תהי מנוחתם. אנא בעל רחמים, הסתירם בסתר כנפיך לעולמים. וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם. אדוני הוא נחלתם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבותיהם, ונאמר
Exalted, compassionate God, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, to the souls of our brothers and sisters, men, women, and children of the house of Israel, who were slaughtered and suffocated and burned to ashes. May their memory endure, inspiring truth and loyalty in our lives. May their souls thus be bound up in the bond of life. May they rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. Together, Monos Kaddish. יתקדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה קירותה וימליך מלכותה, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה שירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. We put now the Torah back in the ark. Becca will now lead us in Arvit. Welcome to go back to your seat and turn to page 200.
Rise if you're able. Page 200. והורח ומכפר עוון ולא ישחית והרבה להשיב אפו ולא יאיר כל חמתו אדוני הושיע מלך יעננו ויום קורנו. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בדברו אמר יברמים. You may be seated. מעביר יום ומביא לילה ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה אדוני צבאות שמו אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב הרבים אהבת עולם מצדל וחבת תמיד כי אם חיינו ברך ימינו ובנגע יומם בלילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך ונימרת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. והיה משמע תשמעו צלי שאנחנו שסבת בגנים אדוני אלוהיכם אמת אמת באמונה כל סוף וקיים עלינו כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואין זולתו נצר עולמו אבוננו מעד מלכים אני בלנו אמת שגון המסכן ולותינו אבינו אל תמיד ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל לחנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נדר בקודש נוראתי לא תוסף אלה מלכותך ראו בניך בוקעם לפני משה זה אלי ענו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאה לו מעט חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. We continue with the prayer for peace, page 206, Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu לשלום ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ותקנינו בעצה טובה מלפניך והושענו למען שמך והגן אוהב דבר וחרב ועוון והכל בהסתר שטן מפנינו מפרד שומעים מצילנו אתה ושמור צאתנו בנו לחיים ושלום מעתה ועד עולם ברוך אתה אדוני שומר עמו ישראל לעד. We turn to Chatzi Kaddish, page 208. I invite you to rise if you're able to Chazik Kaddish will lead us into the silent Amidah, which begins on page 210. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabba be'alma divrach yirdzei ve'amlich malchutei b'chayechonu v'meichonu v'chayetecho Beit Yisrael ba'galai v'zman kariv v'imru amen Yesh Shemei Rabba mevarach le'olam olam me'almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitruman v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei t'kudisha b'richu Le'elam min kol berchata v'shirata tushvachata v'nechemata da'amiram be'alma v'yimru Amen. We face Yerushalayim. with Kaddish Shalem, page 222. Yitgadal v'yitgadash meraba ve'amad yirach yirtei v'amlich machutei b'chaychon v'yomechon v'chayet zechol beit Yisrael b'gala v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yesh meraba merach le'olam lo me'amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudesha abrichu. Le'elam min kol berchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata damiram be'alma v'imru amen. Tika b'atzot chon u'b'atchon dechol Yisrael kodam avundi v'shmaya v'imru amen. Yesh lama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osa shalom b'imromav Uyasa shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. Aleinu l'shabach l'adon hakol l'tikru l'letzer b'shir Shalo asanu ki ha'aretzo v'lo samanu ki mishpachot adama Shalo samchalkinu kem v'goralinu kechol amuna. Hearts and takaninu alkinu kafe lachanunu. Colors of ונאמר באדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. We conclude with Mourner's Kaddish, page 226, inviting all who are in a period of mourning or marking a yard site to remain standing if you're able, and those who are joining us on Zoom to unmute. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba ba'alma divrach yirutei v'amlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayed dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'olam lo me'amaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei t'kudesha b'richu. La'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom v'imramav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. We continue with the counting of the Omer, turning to page 236. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu al tzvirat ha'omer. Hayom 12 yom shehem shavua echad v'chamisha yamim la'omer. Today we have Hod She B'Gvura, this glory in strength.
Just a quick announcement before we conclude. The reading of the names of the community Upper West Side this year will take place at Anshe Chesed on 100th Street and West End Avenue. I think the entrance is on the side on 100th Street. Our slot is at 4:30 a.m. From 4:30 to 5. Some of us will see each other there. We wish everybody a good night and a meaningful day of remembrance and commemoration of the Shoah.